Photoshop Project 3 Menu Image Correction. This is Stage 3, Correcting Color Problems. You really need to take enough time to read the section about color. Most design classes will devote at least 1 or 2 classes just to covering color. Color theory is very important for the design process. And because we're working on computers, are dealing with two different color systems that are totally connected. We are dealing with the monitors, which use additive colors, and printing, which uses a subtractive color model. Most of us understand the subtractive to a point because we've used red, blue, and yellow since we were children to create different colors with crayons and paint. In printing, we use cyan, magenta, yellow, and some black to create some tones. We've covered some color theory in Illustrator, but we haven't covered it completely. There's a very good section in this book that will explain it a little bit better. We are going to begin by opening the salmon JPEG. And when you do, go to Window, Info, and look at the information that we have. You're going to see both the RGB and the CMYK color modes. In the Options menu, select Panel Options and choose Actual Color for the mode in the first color readout and CMYK for the second color readout if they're not already selected, and click OK. Under the eyedropper tool, you're going to find the color sampler tool. We want to pick up a 3x3 average for the sample size. That's 3 pixels high by 3 pixels wide. Place the cursor on the lower left plate lip and click to place a color sample. Click to add a second sample point to the top right plate lip. The two samples are going to show that there is a lot of green. The numbers in the info panel show the visible color cast in the image. We're going to correct this using color balance. So go to Image, Adjustments, Color Balance. And pull that to the side so you can see the image clearly. The Color Balance dialog box has a separate slider for each pair of complementary colors. You can adjust the highlights, the shadows, or the mid-tone range of an image by selecting the appropriate buttons. We also have a Preserve Luminosity checkbox to ensure that only the colors shift and the tonal balance remains unchanged. Select the Highlights button and drag the magenta green slider to the left to about -10. Adding the color's complement is one method for neutralizing the color. So by adding magenta, we are killing some of the green that we had in the overall tones. Select OK to apply the adjustment, and then you will save this file as a Photoshop file called Salmon Fixed, and then you can close the image. Open the Flan JPEG. Using the color sampler tool again, we're going to click somewhere on the left lip of the plate and create a sample point. We're going to correct for the overall red cast that's here. Notice our sample point, mine came up 233, yours will come up somewhat a little bit different. But our green is in between the red and the blue. The blue is a little low. We're going to correct this by putting in some different values into our curves dialog box. So we're going to open up Image Adjustment Curves. I'm going to pull this out of the way. We're going to be working with the red color channel because the red color channel is the one that's way higher than it needs to be. We're going to put a spot on the line. We're just going to select a spot that's about 3/4 of the way across the tonal curve. And we want to type in what our original value was. So on input, we're going to put that to, mine was 233. I'm going to change and type in 233. Do you see how this line moves and a point will change to a different location? And we are going to try to adjust that to the same output as what our green level was. So mine is 216, so I'm going to type that into the output. And I have done a little bit of shifting here. So the other line we need to adjust is the blue, and I'm going to select the blue channel. And again, I'm going to put another point on our blue curve, and I'm going to type in the input on that of the original blue, which is 215. And I want to put the output on that to 216, which was my original green. We'll tab that just to accept that. Input should be 215. Oh, output should be 216. And I'm going to then accept the changes and close this dialog box. What I did by doing this is adjusted the gray balance, and it's made quite a change to the image that we had. You can look back and forth to see what the change was by going in your history panel. There's the original. We can go back and forth in our history panel. This is what the original looked like, and now we can select and see what the curves change has done. And you can see that there has been a considerable color shift. Save this file as Flan Fixed, and you can close this image. Next, we're going to use curves again to make an adjustment to the pasta JPEG. We're going to correct the contrast in this image using, again, the curves. Activate the Show Clipping option and click the black point on the bottom left corner of the graph and drag to the right until some pixels start to appear in the image. Should be right around 14. What you've done with this is show that anything with an input value of 14 will be output now as 0. Anything with an input value of 14 is going to be clipped to a solid black. Now we're going to drag the white point left until the lightest area of the image starts to appear. So click on that point and we're going to see a black screen. And as you drag over a little bit, you're going to see some pixels start to come through. And we're going to drag this over just till you start to see a little bit of the light coming in. Now you can turn off the clipping mask and you can see the actual image behind the dialog box. We're going to click on the curve to create a point at the quarter tone grid line, so right about here, and drag it just a little bit to the right. We just adjusted the curve point from an input level of 78 down to 62, but yours is going to be a little bit different. We're going to add another curve at the 3/4 grid line and drag that slightly to the left. Oh, come on. Click and drag. There we go. And my output, I'm changing from about 180 something. Let me go down here a little bit lower. And I'm going to drag that over, make it a little bit higher so that I'm taking it up. So I'm getting a slight S curve in here. And I'm going to say OK once I've made that change. Again, going back and forth from the open to what we've done in curves, you can see we've brought up the contrast considerably. Make sure you save this file as pasta fixed as a PSD file.